Broker Bulletin acknowledges the traditional custodians of all the lands across the country on which we record our podcast and pays its respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people. Welcome to the Broker Bulletin podcast, where better begins. Join us as we chat with brokers about what's working for them, what drives them, and the real challenges and wins that matter most right now.
G'day everyone. Thanks for joining us for our new podcast, Broker Bulletin. I'm Paddy Moore and I'm here today joined with the fabulous Alan Walker from Loan Market. And we're going to dive into a little bit of a conversation today around the one percenters. How does he redefine, redesign and help take himself to the next level? So Alan, welcome to Broker Bulletin.
Thanks, Pat. Good to be here.
Tell us a bit about yourself and your business.
I've been a broker specialising in asset and equipment finance, starting with Loan Market back in 2018. So let's say I'm 6 years in, or so to speak. I still feel like I'm new to industry, but others would say, no, you're an old hat after 6 years of being here. It's been, I guess, a great journey going from literally zero to being fortunate enough to be one of the top performers within the business in the area of equipment finance. What makes me even more proud and satisfied of what I've been able to achieve is, I guess, getting other like-minded industry people from the lender side, along with other brokers and businesses who have been reaching out, I guess, for me, for my advice and my opinion on certain things. From an industry perspective as well, it's also been really quite fulfilling as well that I've had people on the lender side that have actually reached out to me because they've wanted to evolve themselves into being someone like me on the broker side.
I love that. I think changing the game, particularly in that specialised space, is a really, I think, unique thing for yourself and something that you should absolutely be proud of. I think it's awesome.
Thanks. Yeah.
Mate, one of the other things I'm quite impressed with by yourself is the amount of deals that you're able to continue to write year on year. You've been a high performer for a long time. What sort of deals are you writing annually at the moment? How many customers are you helping in that space?
So it's quite funny actually that you say that, because last year I was given a figure when I went into a meeting with a BSM and I was told, last year you helped 416 customers or whatever it was. I can't even remember what the number was. And I said, no, that can't be right. And they said, no, it's 100% right. Like, here's the numbers, here's the breakdown of it. And I thought, no wonder I feel like I'm busy, I guess, if I'm writing those sort of numbers. But it's one of those things where I get in, I get the job done. I get a thrill out of being able to help each and every single customer. It's all about the result and getting to the end game. And I guess what's also made me really hungry, because I've come into this and I've started broking in this area of the business, let's say, with a blank piece of paper. There really wasn't any equipment finance that was happening when I first came in the door. So I kind of set myself a target for, I guess, based on revenue, how much is, let me get to 10 grand a month in consistent revenue. And then after that, it was, okay, well, I can do that pretty easily. So the next target was, okay, let's get to 20 grand a month. And it was only a few months later, and all of a sudden I was comfortably at that figure. And then it was, okay, well, let's see if we can get to 30 grand a month comfortably, all by, I guess, remembering that everything that I do is upfront. So it's not about building that to then get the trail. And obviously that builds, if I don't work, I don't get paid. So I really had to ramp up the volume to be able to get to those figures. And I think when I got to 40 grand a month as the target, I kind of threw my hands in the air and went, well, whatever above that is a bonus.
Yeah. I love that. So you're in a situation now where you're consistently serving customers. I've got some data for you. We're talking over 450 transactions in a year. And each year, the impressive part for me is that you're able to keep going to that little bit more and change it up a little bit. Keen to understand for you, I guess, particularly in the last 12 months, has there been any changes that you've learned, maybe the hard way or the good way, in terms of how you keep redefining and redesigning what's important for both your customer expectations and also the business as well?
Definitely. So, and I guess that goes hand in hand, because it's obviously you can't have one without the other. But I guess what I have found is that I'm fortunate enough also that I'm very strict with how I manage my time and how I segment my days. And I think what I've really learned, and I've found that other people seem to flounder and seem to go around in circles, is that they get lost in the detail or jump from deal to deal and topic to topic and things like that. Whereas I found that you really need to segment your days. And I don't know, hypothetically, if I've got 10 quotes that I need to get out for customers, well, I'm not bouncing from one quote and then going to do something else and then coming back to another quote. You find that your day gets lost and those tasks then take 10 times longer than what they should. So for me, and it may not work for everybody, but certainly for me, I found that by segmenting and putting a group of tasks that you have to do into one hit list and then, okay, right, bang, this is all I'm going to do now. Like it's going to take me half an hour or whatever it is, and I'm just going to smash through these because then they're gone. I don't have to worry about them again until tomorrow. And then I might have another customer that comes in. Then it's about managing the customer and their expectations, I guess, as well. Because at least if you're setting that expectation to the customer in every conversation, you're molding that customer to work within what my plan of the day is, so to speak. So if they're after a quote, whatever it might be, unless it's something that's really urgent, well, sorry, they've missed the cutoff. I've done my quotes for the day. So the expectation that's set to them is you'll hear back from me by tomorrow. And I know to myself that way I'm not going to get bogged down in, because that's not important to me now. Yep. And I'll get to that tomorrow with tomorrow's list of things to do. And that just allows me to go on to the next bulk of tasks. And I just find that by having everything streamlined and together in silos, so to speak, it's just really helped to manage the day. And I've actually found that it probably buys me a little bit more time in my day as well.
I love the concept, and effectively it makes sense, right? This kind of idea of batching work. In an environment where you're so fast-paced, I would almost imagine that you're pulled when you get more and more deals to actually get less structured because of the pace and the rate of change within the range of your customers. How do you control that for yourself?
I think it's probably the opposite. I think because of the volume and the pace of things, you really need to be more structured and be more regimented in being able to manage your day and those processes as well. Because if not, then I wouldn't be able to write the volume of deals that I'm writing, because I would be running from left to right, up, down, back, forth all the time. And I think it would just quickly fall undone if I was doing that. Plus, I don't think it would be any good for me mentally if I'm doing too many different things at once.
Yeah, and you get 50% of Alan Walker right rather than 100% of your brain capacity delivering what you need to.
Exactly.
Have you had any pushback around customers in terms of setting their expectations, or is it what you set up is what they buy, or is there something else inside that?
It's about reading the customer, I guess, and having the conversation with the customer as well. I can pretty easily read from a customer in a conversation, depending on what they're telling me. Have I got time? Is there time available to be able to manage that customer until tomorrow, or isn't it? Because, and if it's not, well, then obviously it's not every day that I make an exception where I have to change something to meet that customer's expectation. There might be a week where I pick up something and I think, well, okay, it's only going to take me 5 minutes and it's not within the structure of what I'm doing, but it is important, and no different to, I don't know, a lender making a credit exception. I'm making an exception to my own policy or procedure to be able to fit with a client's expectation.
Your weekly structure, is that the same? Every Monday looks exactly the same as every other Monday, or does that move and change as well in terms of what's important for the business as well as you grow and develop?
No, not really. I would say that every day of the week, it's the same day in, day out.
That level of structure in there.
Yep.
Do you get to the stage within your business where you need to spend more time on, I don't know, building referral partners or spending more time with lenders to understand policy and stuff? And does that change then the percentage of time that you're spending on a day? And how do you bring that?
I guess it does in a way, yes. Another important thing that I've also learned is that I'm a 1 meeting a day person. And what I mean by that is I'm a 1 meeting a day person when it comes to not customer facing, but if it's a lender or otherwise. I've fallen over twice where I think I've allowed it to myself twice where I've said, yep, I'll do 2 meetings, because at the end of the day, that's an hour of my day.
Yep.
That hour of my day has put me back 4 hours or whatever it is within my day because of the fact that I've had that meeting. So I'm very time orientated too and time focused when I do go into these meetings. So I know that if it is an hour meeting, that it is an hour meeting, and I'm looking at the clock saying we need to wrap this up politely because I've got work to do and there's money to be made, so to speak.
And I guess your customers are relying on you from the transactional side with the pace of asset finance to actually deliver outcomes, right? So if you've got 4 BDM meetings in a day, that'd absolutely throw the whole concept of what you need to do to sort of be able to manage those customer expectations, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I guess even if we use today as an example, I had a meeting with a lender this morning. I'm now joining you in this podcast with you now. So I've broken my rule. However, also, I guess the other important thing is I knew a number of customers that are on my list, and I've been on the phone proactively on the way here, managing that customer. And the expectation is, it's just a quick 2-minute call. It's, hey, I said that I'd be in touch today. I'm just calling because, I've been held up unexpectedly or something's come up, and you will hear from me by tomorrow. Again, those conversations I can have because I already know that the detail and where we're at with those deals, it's not time sensitive for today. And those customers are fine because they're not going to be following me up. It's always 10 times easier to make the proactive call to the customer as opposed to taking the reactive call and then shrugging them off or fobbing them off to say, sorry, I got busy. They appreciate even more. And all of a sudden, they're the ones with their back up, almost saying, no, don't worry about me. Yeah, tomorrow's fine sort of thing. So I guess that, again, just comes down to managing the customer and the expectation.
Is that something that you proactively have worked on and learned this, I guess, always being in front of the 8 ball rather than sort of chasing from behind?
Definitely.
It's another concept that makes sense logically, but did you have to learn that the hard way? Is that an experience thing that you've gone through to sort of have that mentality?
I think I'm fortunate enough that was something that was just instilled in me, and it didn't take long because people always do it. It's natural. You don't have to be a broker. It can be in any industry. Right. And people will always put off that difficult conversation or that difficult customer that they may need to call. And even in different industry where I've worked, I can see people, they sit there and you can see them stirring on this conversation and this call that they need to make that they're just putting off. And I've told people time and time again, just pick up the phone and make the call. But you'll find out after you've made that call that it was 10 times easier you making that call to that person proactively and having that difficult conversation as opposed to that customer following you up. That conversation becomes as hard as what you think it's going to be because you're having to be reactive to it, not proactive to it.
Yeah, 100%. Talk to me about what the next level is for you. So what's the next sigmoid that your business can go on? Where's your head looking like in terms of the future? What do you need to change, adapt, redesign, or look at in order for you to take your business to another level again?
I'm on the good hunt for a cloning machine. I guess that could be a new asset type that we could get into funding and things like that too. So there's future opportunities in further asset funding if we can find it. I guess that would be the silver lining if I could. But no, I think in all honesty, either I am looking at a point now where I am at almost capacity to what I'm able to physically achieve as a solo operator, let's say. Beyond this is where I need to start growing a team. Irrespective, I think that's still pretty impressive either way. If doing numbers, as you've said, of 400 plus customers a year, and I'm able to do that pretty much wholly and solely on my own, is that an industry thing whereby you could say, well, the expectation is someone can write 400 plus customer deals a month, a year. That's the goal. Once you get to that point, then you can employ people. I don't know, but I guess that's also some thinking that I need to do is to, what happens beyond this? Do I cruise at this level of altitude of what I'm doing, or do I try and grow it? But by growing it, obviously means having more people and a larger team.
And then there's obviously a change to your structure, right? Change your day, a change to your operating rhythm. It's going to need to sort of become part of that. Exactly. If that is part of that growth journey for you in terms of where you want to take that.
Exactly. And then I guess I need to try and instill that culture into those people, because either that or be open to seeing, ways that other people are able to manage their day and, and perhaps adapt some of those things as well. And if not, be happy with being able to teach others what I've learned has worked.
So, Alan, let me understand a little bit deeper. I want to hear what your top 3 things are. If I'm a broker listening to this podcast right now and I go, hey, how do I make myself more productive and keep that same high level of customer experience that your customers get delivered each and every time?
I guess efficiency comes into it as well, not just productivity. One thing is, how efficient are you at doing those mundane tasks? Because a lot of people with things that are mundane, they tend to drag out forever. I guess, how efficient are you at doing those tasks that form part of your productivity? So how quickly are you getting them off your desk, so to speak? That's certainly one thing. Making sure that you have a clear set list of, what definitely needs to be done. I'm quite old school, I guess, when I do it. And what I find really helps is I have a to-do list for today. And underneath that, I have a to-do list that can get to it if I get to it. I have a piece of paper that I write every night, and I write it every night because if I don't write it at night and I try and do it the following morning, the next day I'm backwards before I get going, because all of a sudden I've got emails, phone calls, different things like that coming in. So I make sure I've got a list every night so I can get up in the morning. I'm like, right, I know that these are the important things that they definitely need to be smashed out now. So I find that is also equally as important to make sure. Otherwise, I can find myself floundering pretty quickly as well if I don't have a clear set list of things that I need to do, because I'll generally find that some things that that might flood my inbox first thing in the morning, 9 times out of 10, a lot of them can wait, but it's very easy to get lost and tied up in those emails and lose focus on what's still important from yesterday.
Efficiency on mundane tasks is an interesting one to have a look at. If I think about that, is that where the opportunity is to potentially have sort of support or other people sort of pick up some of those mundane tasks, as you call them, to sort of help with your productivity, find other people to sort of place in there? Have you looked at that as an option for your business?
Yeah, that is 100% correct. And you're right from that point of view. I guess what I'd say to other brokers, though, if you're going to buy yourself time to palm off and get somebody else to do those mundane tasks that anyone can do, with that time that you're going to buy for yourself, what are you going to do productively with that time to be able to improve or grow your business? What meetings are you going to do that are going to be productive for the business, to build the business? Or do you have the level of inquiry that's coming in to be able to then use your available time towards?
Absolutely agree. I think this growth journey trajectory piece, if I'm going to give time, that I need to make up that time in something that's going to grow my revenue, right? So to grow the business. The other thing you spoke about was your old school pen and paper. Keen to hear or pick your brain or challenge you if you've had any considerations around, is there ways that you can get more efficiencies by automating some of that, moving some of that into more of a tech type solution? Set on that pen and paper, or is there other things that you...
No, I'm definitely set on the pen and paper. I find it works too well, because having a virtual to-do list or something like that, for me personally, doesn't work. I need to have something sitting next to me. It sits on the left of my keypad. It's great because it's incentive for me to be able to cross something off the list. And I guess it gives me something visual for the day as well, to be able to see what I've achieved, because there's nothing more rewarding than being able to cross something off the list and see things and see tasks disappear. I could have some virtual thing, but unless it's sitting there and glaring me in the face, I guess that also drives me, because it also shows me, geez, I've still got all these other things to do. Like I can't sit here and look out the window for another 5 minutes, because I've got these jobs to do. So for me, that old school way is a staring reminder of, hey, this has got to get done.
And I think it's important to probably call out then that it's not about the tool you use, right? It's about how that changes your psyche to ensure that you get the right outcomes for your customers. So regardless, to your point, whether it's digital, whether it's pen and paper, at the end of the day, as long as that's driving you to deliver better customer outcomes, then it's a win in everyone's book, I think, right?
Exactly. That's right. Yeah. But for me, doing the Alt tab to go to that to-do list that might be in another screen that's hiding, and I can leave it hiding, isn't the solution for me.
Beauty. Well, look, Alan, thanks so much for joining us today on Broker Bulletin. I've really enjoyed learning a little bit more about you and how you're serving over 400 customers each and every year, and just keep taking it to the next level. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Pat.
Thanks for tuning in to Broker Bulletin. We would hate for you to miss an episode. Subscribe to Broker Bulletin in your favourite podcast app. Has this episode been helpful? We'd love you to rate and review us. It'll help us deliver content that's useful to you and help others discover us. If you have great ideas for topics worth tackling, or have burning questions you'd like addressed on an upcoming episode, reach out. Links in the show notes. See you next time.